Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Greetings and felicitations.
What's going on?
So we're, I feel like we have a lot to talk about, lots to cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it does seem like we have a lot of topics to go to traverse here. We've got the new Admech, which we have to condense into a, expert analysis. Thankfully, Wyatt is on top of that with 2 seconds notice. You're welcome. I
got this thing. You want to do the thing? Yeah, let's do the thing.
Yeah. Do it goodly. We've got Mike Haspil with it's not every day, guys, that Haspil, before we are even in the pregame show, we're in the pre-screen, where we're talking muted. It's not every day he in that moment is like, yo, I got a Haspil's corner. That's a rare occurrence. It's happened maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
So he's got one he's very passionate about. If you are, well, obviously you guys are not a member of the Facebook chat that just us 4 are members of. But if you could see it, you were a fly on the wall in there, you would know exactly what the topic is and how passionate he is about it.
Yeah.
So, fuck it. Since we have so much to cover, let's do it. Let's do roll out with Wyatt's Cave of Wonders, yes. Which, just so you know, Haspil, is a moth meme reference.
Yeah, in and of itself. Like, touch
Are
only
you
the
serious?
lamp.
Touch nothing but the lamp.
I thought that was the from Aladdin.
It is, which is why it's a moth meme.
But it's
also a lamp.
Touch nothing but the lamp. Oh my
but
God.
The lamp.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah.
Oh, I will touch that fucking lamp.
All right. Would you rather watch a concert where the performer lip syncs or live vocals, but they're not nearly as good?
This is
This has got to go dark somehow. Like what is he going to force us to watch? Like,
no, he doesn't. Artists? That's how he gets us fucked up in the head. He's like, he hits us with some really hard ones where we have to consider if we're going to destroy the planet. Right. And then he hits us with a really everyday thing that we deal with.
I'm going to go with I want the bespoke Iron Maiden drums not synced up, vocals not as good experience.
Now, question. Is this anytime I go to anywhere to see any show forever, just one time, do I get to pick? What's the situation here?
No, it's just your opinion.
Oh, this isn't not a would you rather?
No, it is a would you rather, but it's your opinion. I'm not locking you into an endless cycle of shitty vocal concerts.
Oh my God! See, I don't even know what to do.
It's just like, what would you rather go do?
So the Jin is actually taking the day off. He's not even involved in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Now I'm very concerned.
Where's he going his downtime?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He's setting up the next one is why he's.
Yeah, you'll find out next week.
I think we should.
I would pick the not as good vocals, but they're real. Just because if it's a live venue and everything, you're probably singing along, so you're not even going to notice.
Agree.
And you're hammered.
I agree with you. If it's going to be somebody that I found interesting, that I went to see, I've already listened to their lip syncs, aka the album. I've already listened to the fucking perfection of the process.
Yeah, it never sounds the same in live.
And as a matter of fact, a lot of my favorite bands, I buy their live albums. I love their live albums. It's kind of one of the reasons that that's how I kind of make my final assessment of how much I get into a artist. So yeah, I would absolutely. But if I was going to go see Rob's favorite singers of all time, like Britney Spears and Swift, I think I don't know. I feel like I might want to just see the best version of that, not their.
It's funny though that you mentioned that because I don't like live albums.
Kind of the same thing because I don't like hearing the crowd.
Well, you got to have the right stereo system. If you're just listening to it on your earbuds, it sucks.
Yeah,
it's just noise.
Or in the car.
Noise. Yeah.
There are some that are better though. Like Live Crime is definitely better
Than pre-recorded crime?
than Mindcrime. Yeah. Yeah. I really like Operation Mindcrime, but Live Crime is better.
You just said crime, and I was like, okay, interesting.
Oh, you didn't hear me say live. Okay. Yeah. Operation Live Crime. That's
We went there.
oh my God, that album's like 20 years old now.
Mike has our
Now I'm sad.
He's like 20 years old now.
It's just like the way that sounded. It was like, yeah, I prefer to watch crime in person rather than like on.
I like it to see it unfold, be
Yeah,
surprised.
I want to like smell the smells and hear the screams.
But my follow up to Rob would be like Britney Spears. She's coming out to do a huge show, big reunion tour, all the greatest hits. You want to see her doing it live?
She's free.
Yeah, and she's free.
And she's free.
Like, you want to see her straight vocals as they are today, or do you want it to be as much pageantry and nostalgia as it being lip synced? Like, what would you pick?
It's a good way.
Oh, come on, man. Fucking classic Rob answer.
I'd probably lip sync.
Yeah, because it's about the entertainment at that point. It's the pageantry.
Yeah. Isn't she lip syncing anyway? Because
I think that's
I
what
think
I think most of them do
because
I
they're
don't think it's
doing some
possible.
pretty extravagant dancing and
Yeah,
all that.
it's basically because and this is how I finally figured that out. It's because I was watching a Marilyn Manson show in Denver at like the Ogden. Does that sound right, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a long time ago, and I'm watching Manson go, sing, and I'm like, it sounds pretty fucking good. This is awesome. And at one point gets on stilts, these crazy stilts. And he's like walking around like a vicious like horror monster while he's singing. The dude fucking trips on stage.
Oh no.
Right? And you hear it in his singing. Like, he's going down and she's trying to keep it going. He hits, you hear it go. And he's going, he's just laying there going as his crew runs up and like detaches the fucking stilts and he gets back up. I was like, oh, okay. So like, if you're dancing around doing all those crazy moves, like, there's no fucking way it would be that perfect. This dude fell just one time and it was like disaster.
Well, I saw like, oh my God, I'm making myself really old now. Almost 30 years ago, I saw like Whitesnake up here in Colorado Springs.
One of the best of all time. Yes.
It was really, I think Ugly Boy Joe or something like that, or open for him. But that dude, like, of course it's Colorado Springs, right? So he's running back and forth doing all his heavy metal stuff and everything. And he actually had to stop and they started the song over again because he was winded. He was like, dude, this place is kicking my ass.
Yeah.
He's
6,000 feet above sea level.
He goes, we'll start the song over. And then he didn't run back and forth across the stage. He just sang.
Yeah.
But I was like,
it depends on like the genre of music too. Like, I've seen a lot of concerts here in Austin. And I think like rock and roll in general is like, it lends itself better to that, like, or like alt rock, that kind of thing lends itself better to like live performances and like different types of genres. So I've seen like some real baller stuff from like Fall Out Boy and stuff like that here.
Fall Out Boy's good, yeah.
And I've actually seen, if you want to talk about like old stuff, this might surprise you, but I've seen John Fogerty live in concert.
Nice.
And he sounded just like the records my dad had, which was pretty cool.
I'm gonna date myself and say I've seen Kansas live in concert.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah, you were at their first concert probably.
Wow.
Who hasn't gone to a Kansas concert in high school?
It wasn't high school.
Yeah. Rob gave them their first $1. Hey,
Yeah,
you kids are kind of good. Here
Back
you
when they
go.
were in like a real like seedy bar and they were calling themselves Oklahoma, and he was like, hey man, like, not as cool of a state, you should try something different.
Oh my God. Well, no, I'm concerned about next week's Would You Rather. This was quite the pleasant conversation and topic.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna want to pay for this one.
Hashtag free Britney. That's what I took from it.
Hashtag Britney ain't free, bitches. It's a good documentary.
You got some news for us?
Yeah, was trying to think of something smart to say, but I'll just actually do my job now.
When you get into that moment, just title the segment, and it makes it seem smart. Like, yeah, I'm coming to you from the memorial desk right now. So,
like when you get asked a question by an interviewer, you like always start out repeating the question as you buy yourself time.
I have to use a lot of strategies like that because I don't think that fast.
Oh, man.
That's the real pro tips right there, man.
Yep, from the horse's mouth.
Everything I say that makes Mike laugh is something that I already invented, that I've already said 100 times before.
Well, yeah, we all got our go-tos, like crazy sayings, dad quotes, So,
but it makes me happy because at least I get laughs out of Mike. Like around the house, nobody fucking laughs at anything I say.
Wow.
More like it's like, why are you so crass?
I can see that. You definitely see that. Well, this week's Tabletop Market Watch there's actually a lot to this one. So going on pre-order this Saturday is going to be the following delicious treats for Age of Sigmar. So everybody's automatically zoned out, but I'm going to go over it anyways. Kragnos, the End of Empires model, $160. Mr. Lord Croak, Mr. Floaty Toad himself, $115. Model looks dope.
Is that a slan or slan?
He is. And he's got a helmeted and a non-helmeted version from what it looks like. I don't know if you'll be able to build just a generic slan, but either way, super dope looking. The Cities of Sigmar, Galen and Doria Van Hest, the Witch Hunters, are $50 for that 2-pack. And the new Slaaneshi model, I think it's the Voice of Slaanesh or the Talon of Slaanesh, whichever one you want to build, are $110 model, $110, and it's only for whichever version you want to build. So you get one model. The Broken Realms Butcher Hero, which is okay. So these are the bundle boxes. So there's a little bit of savings, but it's nothing like super crazy, and they're already all limited to one each. Allocation. So those are $115. Drachia's Spite Grove, which is the Sylvaneth one, is $100. The Exquisite Pursuit is $90, and the Doom Coven is $90 as well. And then they're putting out for sale separately for the first time Malusi Iron Scale, which is the Daughters of Cain chick that was in the, I don't even remember the box. That came out, the Slaanesh versus Daughters of Cain box. So she's $35. And then now that everybody's listening, we have the Grand Tournament Mission Pack for $40K. That will go on pre-order as well for $40 US. And that will have the new prices, the new missions that we're going to talk about, or new points costs, and the new missions, and some new secondaries that look pretty juicy / a little bit more attainable as well. And the Broken Realms Kragnos book will be $40 as well. Now, all of these things, I think, were allocated to 2 per store, except for Malusi Iron Scale, which is 1 each. Oh, excuse me. The Grand Tournament book is allocated to 30 per store.
Oh, thank God. That's the only one I cared about. I was like, go.
Yeah, that would be a kick in the pants. Like, I need these missions.
I'm literally going to I'm going back to the streets, man. Dirty Mike and the boys, if I have to.
The things I'll do for these missions. And then this week, the heavy intercessors finally hit, and they are also allocated to 30 per store. So
that was the big news last week. That was crazy.
Yeah. So if you're looking for those, they are out this week along with the Vampire Counts or Vampire Counts. That's not a real thing anymore. The Soulblight Gravelords Wave 2.
Soulblade Gravelords.
Soulblight. It's basically Vampire Counts minus the Black Coach. They look cool.
Acknowledged.
Yo. GW Financial News, they put out their tentative profit, which I think, if I recall correctly, was they're looking at 320 million pounds, which is up 30%. So that's from basically from the total from June of 2020, just before Indominus came out, to the basically right now, the end of May.
Wow.
Yep. So that's what they expect, which is up 30%. And it looks like their operating profit is like a 50% margin, which is kind of crazy. Now, if it is 320 million, it looks like their sales actually in the second 6 months, which would be from roughly January till now, were actually down compared to the first 6 months. I mean, not unexpected. They didn't have as much stuff to sell. Were actually down quite significantly compared to that. So their sales from June of last year to December of last year were approximately 186 million pounds. So from January till now, they're projecting roughly 140. So off by about 40 million pounds.
Right. When I think in terms of like 20s in my wallet, I'm like, that's not that bad. But I was like, wait. 40 million.
I mean, overall, compared to some of the losses that a lot of other companies have had in the past 6 months, I think it's not that bad, to be quite honest. But you have to, once you say that, you have to also realize that, a lot of people are of the opinion that they hoarded all the product to sell themselves in their web store so they could recoup that margin and pad those numbers, which, I mean, honestly, probably isn't far from the truth, to be quite honest.
Yeah, we put them on trial for that. And it's like, it's not illegal. It's not a crime.
No. I mean, it's smart business on their part. Mm-hmm. It's terrible business for the hobbyist that has to contend with scalpers and allocations. It's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks for the community. It sucks for, like, when half of this is about, curating a community, that might not be the smartest,
Right. It's definitely going to have long-term repercussions, which we're, just getting into now with their latest round of cease and desist flurry letters across the community. I
read your article
last week and this week.
Well done article, by the way.
Thank you. I took a lot of what's the words? Inspiration from recent conversations with a lot of folks, yourself included. So thank you for that. I think I was very, very happy with that article. And the intent of the article was just to make people aware of the situation and kind of provide some resources and some knowledge, exposure also to the issue, but more educational, like where people could kind of get some resources, look things up and things like that for a lot of artists, because there's obviously a lot of folks out there that everybody has an opinion on copyrights and trademark.
Well, everyone has an opinion that confirms their bias. That's the problem.
Correct. And from what I've learned going over all this information, I even learned quite a bit myself. And I kind of considered myself pretty knowledgeable on the matter. And it turns out I didn't know nothing. And I'm sure we'll get into that more in the weeks and coming months, because there's going to be a lot. This isn't the last we've heard of any of this, unfortunately.
No.
But a bit more good news on the organized play sort of front. We did see where they're coming out with their tournament system. It's going to have 3 events: Orlando, New Orleans, and Austin, Texas. And then, of course, the culmination in a smaller championships in Los Angeles, which is pretty cool. And that's coming up very, very soon, starting in June, I believe. Magic the Gathering's open up their organized play on the 28th of May. So, if you've been missing out on some of that in stores and it's, safe to do so in your area, you'll probably be able to get back in the groove of things right there. They're also going to be doing a new preview. This is GW this weekend for Age of Sigmar 3.0's box called Dominion, which will be along the lines of Indominus. So it might not necessarily be a starter box. It'll be like a collector's box with a bunch of stuff. We'll get the starter boxes and all the different rehashes of the same material and the same sprues later on down the road, I'm sure. So definitely look for that coming Saturday if you're, into the Sigmar thing. Now, the early rumors are supposedly it's hobgoblins, some sort of hobgoblin swampy faction, which I would love to see because it's different enough. And I like big stupid beasts and little creepy things that aren't quite orcs and goblins. But hobgoblins are cool. But we'll find out very, very shortly. They also announced today that there's going to be a new free Sisters miniature giveaway if you come into stores in June. And also you can get a collector's coin if you spend over $100.
Oh, shit.
And that'll be Sisters of Battle as well. How do you feel about that, Haspil?
It's pretty cool, except I'm not going all the way up to Boulder. Or
They don't have one in the Springs yet?
Nah. We don't rate one yet.
Oh, well.
I mean, it'd be a mistake anyway. With
It would be. They'd kind of get hurt here. Yeah. We have several major game stores down here.
Like highly successful, sustained, multiple decades success stories.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's hard to crack into. So look for that coming in June. So a lot of people think, hey, maybe we'll see the Sisters book then, which is probably not far from the truth, which means we got Sisters, of course, Orcs, and then Thousand Sons Grey Knights on deck too, which will probably, I imagine about the time the Thousand Sons Grey Knight release comes out, we'll be back on track for those 2 Codex releases per month that,
it'd be great if they came out in July, but
yeah,
I don't think so. I think I'm betting August.
I'm thinking July. I'm thinking Sigmar. We're going to see Sigmar in 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll see maybe the first. Because we've actually, no, we haven't. We've seen more for Orcs than we've seen for the Grey Knights, so it's probably going to be Orcs before Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. It might not be July, dude.
I got to pick up the new AOS book anyway. My wallet needs time to recover.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of recovery time of wallets, don't forget LVO tickets going on sale real soon.
Yeah, LVO tickets will be on sale next week.
Like Wednesday?
For the 2022 event.
Finally, man. How big is that?
That's happening. I imagine it's going to be the biggest one yet.
Whew, I agree.
If I had to guess, I would definitely take that bet. So the only other thing I really wanted to touch on was the Games Workshop rolled out the Warhammer Plus streaming service.
Oh yeah, God, our weeks are so dramatic. Like so many things happen in 7 days.
A lot happened. Yeah, a lot.
Like I forgot. Like we were like this was like all we talked about in that chat for like 48 hours.
Yep. So Warhammer Plus coming out. A lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. Me personally, I think it's great that the YouTube artists are getting paid. But a lot of people have said in comments things like, hey, we got all that content for free on YouTube, and now we gotta pay for it somehow. And I think a lot of people had some interesting points about, well, we don't know what it is, we don't know how it's going to get put out, but it could be a huge missed opportunity, because they have that the Queen's Gambit effect that I talked about.
I'm
Mike,
disappointed.
You had a
really good point that I hadn't thought of when we were talking about it.
What's that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm disappointed the normies won't discover it on Netflix, but
yeah, the Queen's Gambit effect.
Right. But it's but also these, with the exception of Netflix, the parent companies that own Hulu and Amazon Prime, obviously, and all these other streaming services, they could be problematic to Games Workshop. And the reason I say that is because more and more Games Workshop's biggest asset is their IP.
Yes.
It's the AOS and it's Warhammer, it's not even the miniatures anymore. It's the IP, and they must keep that IP sacrosanct because that is where they're going to make their money. And so if they have to make some kind of deal to sell their soul to put it on Netflix, because put it this way, if Netflix is not financing, if Netflix didn't make the show,
right.
And I don't know, I'm just kind of speaking generically here using Netflix. It's not specific to Netflix's business practices. I'm just using them as an example. Then they essentially buy the show or they kind of lease it, right? They pay for the rights so that to rebroadcast that thing. Well, we don't know how much GW is investing in some of these other shows, like the Blood Angel shows, the Hammer and Bolter and stuff like that. So it might not be a very good deal. Like Netflix might be like, well, here's what we're going to give you for this and to put it on. Now, the other thing is that if you broadcast this IP to normies that don't know what's going on, right? A lot of people, especially with the environment the way it is now and the kind of shill media looking for clicks and rage clicks at that, if they really wanted to be disingenuous and attack the 40K fandom, they could do irreparable damage to the IP. And it wouldn't be very hard for them to do that. And we've seen them destroy much more powerful fandoms in the last 2 to 3 years, like completely destroy them. So I kind of see like GW's point of view where they're just like, hey, we really wanted this to go out, but we don't really want to cede control to, say, the parent companies of Hulu.
That's a good point, too. And also, like, no news on the Eisenhower thing, too, or the Eisenhorn thing. Yeah. Eisenhower. So, like, you know, you make
it's entirely possible that fell through. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, happens all the time.
The thing is the Eisenhorn thing shows that they were willing to go that route.
Yes.
So I think
it might not have proved, like, economically feasible.
So that's what I'm saying. Of your two scenarios you outlined, I'm thinking the economic feasibility is the more likely situation. Because I've seen, as Bonet tells me all the numbers all the time on like Netflix greenlighting and stuff, and she's like, it's pretty fucking hard actually to work and to make your money back on the budget requirements and the constraints of what they're like actually paying for. And like, if they're out there just paying and producing for these things, like it's just could be a complete lose-lose to them. Like they're like, no way.
Yeah.
So
I also think that exact scenario is why they offered an olive branch to the YouTube creators, because they're like, hey, we didn't have to pay a dime to produce Astartes.
Yeah.
And we can pay this guy now.
He's going to make even better content because
he's going to make even better content,
because he can do it as his main hustle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that part's great. For sure. I just think, you know, like you guys said, it would have been great to get that out in front of the hobby, but then I don't think GW is equipped for like an organized, like, you know, everybody on YouTube talking shit about this because of X, Y, and Z that they think they
thing
know
is, it's
about.
a damned if they do, damned if they do situation. Because,
because
like literally, if they don't make money on it, why would you do it? First off, so if the money isn't right, the money's not right. You're not going to fucking do that. They can't be done. You're not. Your stockholders aren't going to allow that. So even if you try to pitch them, but it's about community and it's about the future, GW has already proven that that's not how they think. They can't. They're motivated by you know, the board.
Oh, so it's always current.
That's off the table.
Profits.
So no matter how it's argued to them, if the money's not right, the money's not right. So you have to go this route. Unfortunately, this route now opens the door to the hate, the YouTube comments, but also to the all likelihood that this experience is not going to be fucking professional. Like, look at the app. You know what I mean?
Well, and to that point, right, is people are thinking that they're going to launch a streaming service like Disney Plus or HBO Max or Netflix, right? And they may not. It could just be some kind of a paid access YouTube channel. Or
that's pretty
Twitch.
easy to set up.
No, they said it was going to be on some sort of platform, some vlog, some sort of backbone.
Then that's easy. The backbone's already made.
Yeah.
Then okay. That's
like setting up a URL that hosts like a video player, and you have to have like a paid membership to log in. Like,
well, like a Vimeo, right?
How many websites of a certain type do we know that already do that? Like, you know, it's pretty easy.
I would urge GW to keep it simple, stupid. Go the simple route that works. Charge a fee that's fair and reasonable. Get people paid. Get the content out there. Don't give us more to be fucking mad about, like a fucking botched app.
Yeah. They don't need to reinvent the wheel and try to create their own streaming service from scratch. That would be a mistake. But like Vimeo has videos that you have to pay for to stream.
YouTube as well. I mean, like,
so
don't reinvent the wheel. Do your best there. Like, you had an app that's entire job was just to like display the text you already wrote in books and to spreadsheet the numbers that you also publish in those said books in an accurate way. Mm-hmm. And that was, and you tried to reinvent the wheel on that.
It's still not working right.
Yeah. I think
unfortunate.
It was kind of tone deaf, you know, to try to force feed that to the community when I think a lot of people in the comments, hey, we don't need another subscription service. And then some folks are like, well, it'd be cool if you put painting tutorials and other things on there on podcasts. But, they already put that on YouTube for free.
See,
so like
that.
And if you actually look, they changed all their SEO for their website. So like now when you're looking for a product, like say you want to look up Dread Knight, it's basically coming up in searches as how to paint whatever the item is.
I mean, if they treat it, Rob, as just literally GW's Patreon page, that's how I'm seeing it now. Literally, it's like
that's kind of what it is.
It's their Patreon page. Literally, like you sign up for $10 a month. I get to see the tutorials. I get to see the podcasts. Maybe I still get to see the throttled versions on YouTube. I get to see the clips on YouTube. It just sounds like a fucking. That's it. If it's handled that way, like very simply and elegantly that way, I will fucking give them that money. 100%. I don't see a problem.
I mean, this stuff looks great. It looks well done. It'd be great to see Astartes 2 like over the top with like an actual budget and things like that. But I think everybody has some really good points, and nobody's wrong and nobody's right with what they're saying, because everybody has a decent good opinion. And at the end of the day, Cheeto doesn't care.
We are a highly we're a very educated like consumer base now in the modern era. So like people are, we'll see. Hopefully
GW's crunch the numbers. They know what they think they could sell to us based on whatever data. And that's the nut they're trying to crack.
And whatever that number is, they believe that they'll get that number. And they oftentimes do, as even you showed, like in the last 6 months, they're down $40 million, but they're still up 30%. And they still crushed over $300 million in profits. Like,
well, and I was talking about this too, this is going to be, I have to collate a lot of data, but I have it. I have all their imports from China and from England. And all I have to do is just go through and organize it.
Yeah, we talked about it. You have your drone footage.
Yes, I had the drone footage. And I'll be able to show, like, if they brought in more, if they brought in less, or if they brought in the same. And then we'll know. It'll all be there in black and white if they kept all that stock for themselves.
Well, just wrapped in black shrink wrap, because that's also what the drone footage told us.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you bring the same levels of product, it doesn't
I know,
matter.
just teasing.
If it's poop in there or not. They're selling it to somebody.
I'd buy that.
I don't know. Are we supposed to be mad at them? Like, what if the numbers?
Like, we already have a suspicion that we have continuously, buy in on their product, and like, regardless of our position, it's like, got it.
I think people in the past 5 years have become way more educated consumers when it comes to tabletop wargaming, because a lot of folks know that, hey, if I want it, I got to get it now.
People are just actually. I mean, to my point earlier, people are a vastly more educated, like, consumer base now. Like, people are constantly, it's not hard to Google, price check this out to 2 other websites. Like, bro, like, have this app installed. People are, to convince somebody to give you $1 now, it's a lot different than it used to be. So GW navigates those waters pretty well, and hopefully they don't botch this fucking streaming service and they keep it simple, and we get to see our favorite YouTubers who create the fucking sickest animations continue to experience success.
Yep. That ultimately, that's really what it's about.
I think it's a win for those guys.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they could have got all this time you spent on this fan production is for naught. You don't get to make it anymore.
Take it down.
They could have got that.
Could have got that.
So this is better. No matter what.
Mm-hmm. That's great news for them.
But I'm not even, I mean, those are great, but that's not what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the GW produced stuff, the Hammer and Bolter, I don't remember what the Blood Angels one is called, the Angels of Death.
Angels of Death. Yeah.
Sounds right.
That kind of stuff. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm like, granted, the YouTube content, they're curating the best stuff. But yeah, I'm like, hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's more positive than not.
Fact. That's a good point, Mike. It is more positive. That's a new feeling for me in this year.
I don't know the episode.
Before we duck out on that, I want to remind everybody that if you were looking forward to Hired Gun, that is that Necromunda first person shooter that comes out like Tuesday, like 1 June.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
It's June already, y'all.
Yeah. And then 15 June comes out the Battle Sector from Slitherine, which has been interesting. I watched a couple of streams of people playing the beta, and it is a turn-based strategy game. It is not a RTS. It is turn-based, and it reminds me of like Sanctus Reach on steroids. And I'm a big fan of Sanctus Reach, and I think it's a game that didn't get enough attention because of the graphics. Honestly, it looks like a game that's 20 years old. So hopefully they fix that and optimize stuff, and we'll see. Like, most people don't even know that Sanctus Reach has a whole tournament mode in it, where you can build armies and play them against one another. So with point values and everything. So it's just kind of neat. But I'm looking forward to the Hired Gun. You can be sure I'll be playing that. That looks really good.
That game looks fresh. Undoubtedly. Do you have more content? Do you want to or am I cutting into that summary of your article, Rob?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
All right. We have a Haspil's Corner to do here in a minute, but just to touch bases on, because this is a big deal, and thankfully Rob curated an article for me to read. But when they previewed the GW new GT books with some of the updates to the secondaries, that's a big deal for anyone who's getting ready to, hit the tournament scene, because secondaries asymmetrical mission design is a big part. So this is incredible to see that they're updating some of the secondaries that have had issues or problems, or maybe they're less popular. Investigate Sites is it's actually one of my favorite ones for my Blood Angels. But now it's like, I like this update. So Investigate Sites, previously, you scored at the end of your movement phase. You had to be in the center of the battlefield, and it had to be devoid of enemy units. The real problem there was, as long as your opponent had at least one model within 6 inches of the center on their turn, you could never score it, since you really couldn't destroy them like in that phase, right? That was difficult. And now they're saying you start to perform the action, and if enemy units are within 6, and score if you can clear the center. You can score it if you clear the center in time. So like they're giving you that like caveat that you can still clear it. So you don't get stuck into this endless cycle of being fed a single model endlessly and never scoring it. So like, small update, big ramifications for scoring that secondary. It's pretty much a big deal. And they also changed thin their ranks, which is like, it never really got picked, because that was like, remember Reaper from before all this? That was like every 10 models. It was how we controlled hordes. And this one gives you like a point for every 10 models you kill. They even give you a point for killing like tanks and shit, big shit. Well, they changed it to no prisoners, and it counts the wounds characteristics of destroyed models, as long as they aren't vehicles and monsters. So they removed the, kill a big thing, get a point, and changed it with like wound characteristics. Like, y'all just came in here and ran through these 9 wounds stacked in 3 models. That counts. Instead of, it used to count as 3 models, you would never take it. So now there is play against certain more elite armies if you can't figure out the correct secondary to take. Now, maxing it out is still going to be difficult in many situations, but like if you just need like something you can fucking score, and you need to put like 8 points up, this has now become vastly more attainable and useful. And now here, one of the biggest changes that they haven't really expanded upon too much is deploy scramblers, which is like currently a pretty popular, would you say, Wyatt, real popular secondary?
Say it again.
Deploy scramblers, real popular.
Oh yeah, it's very popular. It's somewhat easy to do in most matchups, and even though it's not a 15, it's a solid 10 points. And I take it a lot. My philosophy is like, I would rather get someone I know that I can get 10 points rather than something where it's like I might be able to get 15 or it gets shut down, like Psychic Ritual, where it's like you have to do the 3 actions to get the 15 points, but if somebody like ganks your your librarian or your caster or whatever before you get that third check mark where it's like, well,
it's all or nothing.
0.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is an all or nothing, but it's simple because it says start, you do the action in your turn. So like there's no counter to it. It's not like do it and then in my command phase. Literally you just say like this unit's not going to move. Deploy scramblers. Did it. Yep. And then you have to do it in your side, the middle, somewhere in the middle, and their side once. So with one simple deep striking unit, it's a pretty S tier-esque fucking secondary for being hard to stop. And what they're saying is that they're changing the name of it to Retrieve Ectaria's Data. And so they're saying their promise is to open up more possibilities where you get extra points from completing the objective in multiple table quarters. So we don't know the point breakdown, and if it's a sliding scale now, maybe it's not all or nothing, but it doesn't seem like it's going to just be anywhere here, anywhere here, anywhere here. It may end up being slightly more conditional, but also no longer be all or nothing, which would be kind of pretty cool. Because like I find it tricky in some of the lists I want to play to take it because of that all or nothing.
Makes sense.
In the chat asks, Zenwu says, do you guys make sure to score secondaries after each player turn? If that's the time you need to score them, yeah.
Yeah, some are a little bit different.
You have
some
to
are like end of game. So like for deploy scramblers or stuff like that, I just make like a little tick mark. And it's like as soon as I complete that third action, it's like, okay, I scored 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not all equal. You should definitely keep track of it. You should have a piece of paper or a whiteboard or something. But
because some things score like at the end of the player turn, some at the end of the battle round, some like in the next command phase.
So yeah, a lot of actions are command phase based. Like it's got to keep, but you definitely got to notate it. It's the bookkeeping side of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, it's why every tournament has like a sheet or something, or at least like all the tournaments that I go to in the Texas circuit, they provide laminated like scorecard sheets with dry erase markers, so we just like score it up right at the table.
Yeah, it's become pretty standard because the bookkeeping side can become a little inaccurate otherwise. Hard to remember. You gotta, oh wait, did I do that? Oh, I gotta look, So those are pretty big updates to look forward to. Picking your secondaries is one of the most important parts of playing the game right now. So that's a huge update. Now, talking about picking your secondaries and winning a game, this is the last promo before this weekend. I will be in the San Diego Beach Lab of the DiceCheck crew playing my first 9th edition Warhammer 40K game. My first game I've played since LVO 2020, period. Bringing out the Death Guard. That was the lockdown project. We have a lot of YouTube videos about it, and it's going to be live streamed 2 p.m.
Nice.
Pacific on twitch.tv/DiceCheck. If you guys haven't already followed these guys on the tubes or on the Instagrams, or they have a poppin' Discord server, hit them up. We've interviewed them a few times. They're amazing. Looking forward to having my podcast crew support me in chat, bringing the pickles, raining down the long war hype. But that's it's the last of the promos on my part. So I think it's time to throw it back to Haspil, who just mysteriously re-entered the podcast.
Stepped out of the warp.
Yeah, my Zoom decided to quit. I don't know what happened. But I wanted to take a time out to talk about one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. And it's not for the reasons you think it is. It's Army of the Dead on Netflix. And I'm going to have some mild spoilers in here. So if you don't want to have it spoiled, although it's a heist movie in Vegas with zombies, everything about the movie now.
Up to speed.
And the only thing I will say is I ran into some people that really hated it when they watched it. And the only thing I can say to that is if you went in there thinking it was going to be like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, which was a very serious movie, then I could see why you would not like this movie. Because this movie it's not really winking at the audience, but it's not really taking itself seriously. The rule of cool prevails throughout. But one of the things that I really liked about it is that it's what I call a stopwatch movie. And another stopwatch movie that I used to use all the time to talk to people about it was Independence Day. And this fits in that mold of a stopwatch movie. And what I mean by that is if you're trying to learn how to write a screenplay or trying to learn how to make films or tell stories, right? You can watch this with a stopwatch and figure out exactly when the next beats are going to happen, especially if I tell you what this movie is a remake of. This movie is a closet remake of Aliens. It is beat for beat the same exact film, only it uses zombies instead of aliens. Well, or maybe not. Maybe it uses aliens for zombies. And the reason I say that is there's some Easter eggs throughout this movie, and I've watched it twice. And the second time I watched it, right at the beginning of the movie, there's 2 UFOs like right in the sky, like really obvious too. And I was just like, what? So there's that. There's cyborg or robot zombies that you will catch if you watch the movie. Like, pay attention. You will see zombies with glowing blue eyes. They are not regular zombies. They're robots or cyborgs or something. And there's a scene where they're fighting them on the casino floor where they shoot one right in the head, and you can actually see it has a metal skull like a T-800 from Terminator. So it's pretty cool. And there's a really obvious time loop in there in the movie where they hint that the movie you're watching is the 4th time these events have happened. So it is fun in that sense. But also it has extremely tight exposition. And when I talk about like storytelling, you want to get the expositionary parts out of the way as fast as you can so that your heroes can get off to the adventure, right? You don't want to spend all the time getting the mission briefing. So the ideal film that does it the best, in my opinion, ever, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. They have the 2 Army intel officers come in. Indy lays out the entire plot of the film in about 5 minutes, explains everything, and then all you're seeing is complications. They did the same thing in this movie, but with Tanaka, the guy who hired him, walks him through the mission, and they even have the heist music going and everything, and he explains how easy it's going to be. Right. So it's just fantastic because then you know exactly what they're trying to do. But there's also some complications that arise immediately. And to the folks that are like taking it too seriously, I want to point out that from the moment they cross into Vegas and are actually on the mission, they have more people on their crew than can fit into a UH-1 helicopter with $200 million. So they're basically planning that half the people are going to die or no one gets out on the helicopter. So it is actually really hilarious. That is amazing. The opening credits is probably the best exposition I've seen for background storytelling since Watchmen.
Yeah, it's really good. Like the best like show don't tell setup for a movie that I think I've ever seen.
It was just absolutely fantastic. And it's really a technical achievement too. This movie was made on a decently low budget. And K.R. Quinn goes, who still has a UH-1 low budget movies? That's
exactly.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're still out there.
And this was made on a relatively low budget, you know,
it does not look like it. It doesn't
really
look
like
good
it at all. It doesn't look like it at all. And apparently it's kicking off some kind of cinematic universe of zombies with animes coming and all this other stuff going on. So I would say just lean back. If you know that it's aliens, start looking for the beats, and it's not that hard. Aliens running time is 2 hours, 27 minutes. This running time is 2 hours and 30 minutes. So it's like, pretty much once you figure out who Burke is supposed to be and who Vasquez is and who the different characters are, you can pretty much figure out exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Game over, man.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was fun. It's a nice, fun movie. It is not a film to be taken seriously, but it is a good film to kind of study because you're not going to get caught up in the story. You can pay attention to the craft behind it. So it's kind of a neat movie to study, to just be like, okay, they did this. Oh, okay, we're at the start of the second act now. Oh, we're in the middle slump. This is why they're doing this. Oh, this is why this character is super annoying. So it's just kind of fun. I recommend it.
Yeah, super, super fun movie. I mean, like right after I watched it, on your recommendation, I was like, I think I have a problem, because there's so many of these types of like fiction type movies that set up like world building, and almost instantly, my brain is like, I want to know more about that than like whatever happens in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the same thing in so many different deals, where it's just like, they show that montage of like what they label in the movie as like the zombie wars. And I'm just like, okay, now I have to know what the zombie wars are. And then like this heist thing doesn't mean anything to me. I want to see more of that. I want to see like the perspective of the guys flying the A-10 gunships, shooting thousands of zombies on the strip, doing gun runs. Like that was way cool.
What shot that one guy down who was parachuting into Vegas, right?
Like why did that happen?
Why did that happen?
So many questions. And I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll watch a heist movie, but I want to know about the zombie wars.
Yeah, the movie I can think of that did that the most, that I was like, oh, I'd rather see that movie than this one, was the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Like right after he's being decontaminated from the nuke or something, and the army guys are calling him Colonel Jones.
Oh yeah, like we want to know what Indy did during World War II.
Yeah, and they throw this line out about, hey, we knew you ran missions for the OSS in World War II. And I was like, why am I not watching that movie? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, well, it's neat.
It happens to me a lot. I don't know what it is. It happens in video games. Anytime there's like a prehistory that they make sound really cool. It was like that in Destiny for me. I don't know if you ever played Destiny, but they talk about like the exploration, like the diaspora of humans out into the solar system, and like the golden age, and like some of these other conflicts and stuff. And it's like, we never get to see any of that. I'm like, that sounds way fucking cooler than this, like whatever plotline they have in Destiny.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Solid Haspil's Corner. Now I have to watch it. Yeah, like I'm like, you fucking sold me on it.
Yeah.
Sold me on it. Well, Wyatt, you ready to break it down to Admech?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So the new Admech Codex comes out on Saturday, a couple days from now. And we're going to cover some of what the different Forge Worlds do, maybe some cool little combos, stuff like that. Couple of really big things out the gate for this new Codex. Like, they still have Canticles of the Omnissiah, which is like an overarching army buff that you have to turn on, turn off. And they've streamlined that a little bit, and they've also limited that a little bit. Like before, if you picked it, you could only use it once per game, but you could do things that would let you use it multiple times. And they've kind of like eased up on that and limited it even more. So it's like those choices matter. And they also added a new thing, which is called these like doctrine imperatives. And both of those are now like an ability in data sheets. So when you look at the data sheets of your Admech guys, it'll say Canticles of the Omnissiah, or it'll say data or doctrine imperatives. And mostly like the broad strokes is that Skitarii don't get Canticles. They have doctrine imperatives, and there's like a buff and a negative whenever you activate those. So let's go right into it. Got the Mars Forge World, our buddy Baller Sarius Call, leading those guys. And so their dogma is Masters of the Forge. Skitarii units with this dogma gain the Canticles of Omnissiah ability. So that's a cool little thing that only they can do. Each time a unit with this dogma is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll one hit roll when resolving that unit's attacks. Kind of handy.
Classic.
They've got a warlord trait called Panegyric Procession.
Yeah.
That's what Rob has. That's what Rob had this morning.
Yeah. That's
I had to go see the doctor about that this morning. It's not contagious. Don't worry, guys.
Okay, cool. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Mars Cult Mechanicus core unit within 6 inches of this warlord. If you do so, then select one Canticle. This can be one that has already been active for your army. Until the start of your next command phase, both this warlord and that unit benefit from the selected Canticle instead of the one that is active. And they've got a relic. It's called the Red Axe. It's for an Omnisian axe only, so it's like your tech priest guys. Strength +2, -5 AP, 2 damage. Each time this bear fights, it makes 3 additional attacks with this weapon.
That's handy.
And then Wrath of Mars makes a return. It's going to be 1 CP or 2 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Mars unit is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target, in addition to any normal damage, to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. If that unit has a power rating of 11 or more, the stratagem costs 2 CP. Otherwise, it costs 1.
So you're paying 2 CP. They didn't have the max before, right?
Yeah, no max.
So now you're paying 2 CP to do 6 mortal wounds.
Well, only if it's the power level of the unit is 11 or more. Mm-hmm. So if it's like a big beefy unit of like Castellans, then like, yeah, it costs 2. But if it's like 10 Skitari or 10 Corpus Gari Electro Priests, it's only 1. Yeah.
They've been doing that a lot, putting caps on the amount of mortal wounds you can do with stuff like that.
Let's see. Then we got Lucius, and their dogma is Solar Blessing. Each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model with this dogma, add 1 to any armor saving throw made against that attack. And add 3 inches to the range characteristic of ranged weapons that models with this dogma are equipped with. They have a warlord trait called Luminescent Blessing. In your command phase, select one Lucius core unit within 9 inches of this warlord. Until the start of your next command phase, each time an attack is made against that unit, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 3 for that attack fails, irrespective of any abilities that the weapon or the model making the attack may have.
Another classic.
Pretty cool. And then they have the relic, the Solar Flare. Lucius model only. Once per battle in your movement phase, the bearer can use this relic. If it does so, the bearer's unit and up to 1 friendly Lucius core unit within 3 inches of the bearer can be removed from the battlefield and set back up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. If 2 units are set back up on the battlefield using this relic, both units must be placed wholly within 6 inches of each other.
That's a handy little fucking solar flare right there.
That sounds like Necron tech.
Yeah,
that's pretty neato.
No, I actually like these guys a lot. I like that.
Yeah, those guys sound really cool. I like the whole mechanic of if it's only 1 wound, you get +1 to the armor save. That's pretty kick-ass.
And then their relic is 1 CP Legio Teleportarium.
Oh, the stratagem.
Yeah,
this one's good.
Basically, like it lets you deep strike a unit as long as it's not a vehicle. And it says you can only use it a certain number of times. It says you can only use the stratagem once unless you are playing a strike force battle, in which case you can do it twice, or an onslaught battle, in which case you can use it 3 times. So in match play, 2K points, you can do it twice.
How many CP? 1?
Yep, just 1 per.
I like these guys. I like the mobility. I like the shiftiness, and I like the built-in survivability.
Yeah. I really like Lucius for a number of combos that we can talk about after. Then we have Agrippina, and they have Staunch Defenders for their dogma. Each time a model with this dogma makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within half range, the AP of that attack is improved by 1. Each time an enemy unit declares a charge against the unit with this dogma, if this unit is not within engagement range of any enemy units, it can hold steady or set to defend.
Oh, wow. Built in.
Mm-hmm. And then they have the Warlord trait Verse of Vengeance. In your command phase, select one friendly Agrippina core unit within 6 of this Warlord. Each time a model in that unit is destroyed by an attack made by an enemy model, roll 1d6. On a 4-up, do not remove the destroyed model from play. It can, after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks, either shoot with one of its ranged weapons as if it were your shooting phase, or make one attack with one of its melee weapons as if it were the fight phase. After resolving these attacks, the destroyed model is then removed.
That's another classic, man.
Oh, yeah.
Some noise marine action right there.
Then they have the relic, the Eye of Z-Lexum. Agrippina model only. At the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy vehicle unit within 18 inches of the bearer. Until the end of the phase, the bearer gains the following ability. Aura. While a friendly Agrippina core or Cataphron servitors unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets the selected vehicle unit, you can reroll the wound roll. And then they have the stratagem Indentured Machines for 1 CP. Use this before the battle. Select one Cataphron servitors unit from your army. Add 1 to the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. A unit can only be selected for this stratagem once. You can only use this stratagem. You can only use this stratagem once unless you are playing Strike Force, in which case you can use it twice, and so on.
Okay. There's a few of those.
See, then we have Graia, Dogma Refusal to Yield. Each time a combat attrition test is taken for a unit with this dogma, it is automatically passed. Each time a model with this dogma would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6. On a 5-up, that wound is not lost. So it sounds like Graia stole the Death Guard's Feel No Pain. Then they have the Mantra of Discipline Warlord trait. In your opponent's charge phase, at the start of the heroic intervention step, select one friendly Graia core unit within 9 inches of this Warlord until the end of the phase. If that unit is within 6 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of any enemy unit, it is eligible to perform heroic interventions as if it were a character unit. Each time a model in that unit makes a heroic intervention move, it can move up to 6 inches.
That's pretty good.
They have the Cerebral Technomiter. Tech Priest only. Add 3 inches to the range of the bearer's aura abilities to a maximum of 9 inches. Each time the bearer uses an ability in your command phase that specifies a range, you can add 3 inches to the range of that ability to a maximum of 9 inches.
A lot of utility.
And the stratagem Steel Mind, Iron Logic, 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase when an enemy psyker attempts to manifest a psychic power within 18 inches of any Graia units from your army. Roll 1d6 on a 4-up. That psychic power is denied.
Sounds like something they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Then we've got Styges 8. Got to check those Roman numerals. Dogma. Shroud Protocols. Oh, these guys get 3 bullet points. Each time a ranged attack targets a vehicle unit, excluding units with the core keyword with this dogma, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, the target is treated as having the benefits of dense cover against that attack. Each time a range attack targets a unit, excluding vehicle units, yada yada, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, then the target is treated as having the benefits of dense cover against that attack.
Yep. So -1 to hit, +1 armor save.
Yep. Each time a unit with this dogma declares a charge, none of the targets of that charge can hold steady or set to defend.
Oh, sick.
Warlord trait Veiled Hunter. At the start of the first battle round, you can select up to 2 friendly Styges 8 units wholly within your deployment zone. Remove those units from the battlefield, then set them up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. If the mission uses the strategic reserves rules, any of those units can be placed into strategic reserves without having to spend any additional CP, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserves. If both players have abilities that redeploy units roll off, the winner chooses who redeploys their units first.
Oof.
I always love abilities like this.
Very cool. And they have the relic, the Omnissiah's Hand. Once per battle, at the end of the fight phase, you can use this relic. If you do so, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches of the bear. On a 2 through a 5, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
It's okay.
And they have the stratagem Clandestine Infiltration. Use a stratagem during deployment. Select one Styges 8 core infantry unit from your army. When you set up that unit, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models.
Nice. I like these guys too.
Very cool. Yeah, they're a popular one. And then we have Ryza, Red in Cog and Claw. Each time a model with this dogma makes a melee attack, if it made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention this turn, add 1 to that attack's wound roll. Add 1 to charge rolls made for units with this dogma.
Okay. Useful.
The warlord, yeah, very good for the melee units. And they have the warlord trait, Citation of Savagery. Start of the fight phase, select one friendly Ryza core unit within 6 inches of this warlord. Till the start of the next fight phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, the AP of that attack is improved by 1.
Oh, these guys are fighters.
Mm-hmm. And they have the relic Weapon XCIX. I think it's a Roman numeral, but I don't know how to read that many Roman numerals at once. Do you know, Mike?
XEX?
No, XCIX.
99?
Is that what it is? Is it 90? I forget what C is supposed to be.
100.
But it follows in X. So is it 999 or 1099?
I think it's 99.
Yeah, it's 99 because it's 9 minus
because you subtract. Yeah.
Okay.
You subtract the columns. That,
okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, it's it replaces a Volkite blaster. It's 24-inch range, heavy 3, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. Each time an attack is made with this weapon on an unmodified wound roll of 6, that attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds in addition to any normal damage. Then they have the stratagem Plasma Specialists, 2 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Ryza unit is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with a plasma weapon, add 1 to the damage.
Holy shit. So 2 damage or 2 DPS people, 1 in close combat, 1 in shooty.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Metallica, Relentless March.
Oh my god, how many fucking Forge Worlds are there?
This is the last one that has like bespoke rules. Models with this dogma do not suffer the penalty to hit rolls incurred for firing assault weapons in the same turn that their unit has advanced. Models with this dogma do not suffer the penalty to hit rolls incurred for firing heavy weapons in the same turn that their unit has moved. While an enemy unit is within engagement range of a unit from your army with this dogma, that enemy unit is treated as being at below half strength. And they have the warlord trait, Tribute of Emphatic Veneration. At the start of your movement phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this warlord. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll.
Oh, these guys have a lot of utility.
Yeah, people really like these guys for all the movement shenanigans they can do. And they have a relic called the Adamantine Arm. Metallica model only. The bear is equipped with this relic in addition to their other weapons. Strength ×3, -3, 4 damage. Each time the bear fights, no more than one attack can be made with this weapon. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, add 1 to the attack's hit roll.
Oh, Superman punch.
Oh, yeah. And then they have the stratagem Deafening Assault for 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when a Metallica army or a unit from your army is selected to shoot. Select one enemy unit, excluding vehicles, within 12 inches of that unit. Until the start of your next turn, have the movement characteristic of models in that enemy unit. That enemy unit cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend.
They have a lot of flexible shit, man.
Yeah. One of the cool things that Mechanicum has right now, unlike like Space Marines, is that you can still have detachment based stuff rather than like single Forge World or single chapter type stuff. So you can still mix like a detachment of Lucius, a detachment of Metallica, and a like a Styges 8 detachment to like play to the strengths of different units and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Some of the more interesting things with this codex, like Cataphren, the big tracky boys that are our troop choices, they're no longer core, which is really weird. I think they're the first non-core.
Do they keep infantry
choice. Though? No. So they're bikers. Infantry. So they're bikers, but they have a rule called tracked mobility, which basically lets them act as infantry for movement purposes.
So they can go through walls.
Yeah, they can walk through walls.
But they can't perform actions?
No, there's specific things in here that like you need to buff or like stratagems you have to play to let them act as infantry for a turn and do actions, that kind of thing. But they're still troops. They're still OBSEC. So that's a kind of a big deal.
That's a huge change.
Yeah, it's a huge change. They're not core anymore.
Because they were infantry core before on those tracks, and that was a thing.
Right. So like them being troops is still dope. Like their stats overall still good. Their data sheets have been kind of elevated a little bit. Like one of the changes is like the plasma guys, they only suffered the single mortal wound on a roll of a 1 instead of dying outright. Some of their stuff has like better number of shots, that sort of deal. So, you know, balancing there a little bit. One of the cool things, if you like the Castellans, like Castellans are my favorite unit in the Mechanical Codex, just because I love the robots.
It's like an OG sci-fi robot. Yeah.
So they are still heavy support. They got a lot better, really cool. And then if you take the Cybernetica Datasmith on top of him being able to issue them like protocols and stuff,
is that the wafer guy? Core.
Yeah, it's the Cybernetica. He's the elite character. Yeah, he makes them. If you're within his sphere of influence, those guys are core. Like that's really cool. So,
because can't they do the double shot thing, like from your deployment zone to their deployment zone? Isn't that's a new thing, right?
A shooting thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done that deep of a dive into the Codex yet, so I'm not sure.
Well, it's like one of their protocols, right? They like brace.
Yeah. Like if you were, let me pull up their.
I have it up. Let me find their data sheet.
It was no, I think it's what was that?
It's one of their protocols.
It was one of the previews for.
You mean the Army of Renown?
No,
Army of Renown.
It's in the Caradon book. Yeah, that's
Army
it.
of Renown.
Yes.
Yeah, the bonus for being all one Forge World and you can't take any Skitarii units whatsoever, not just the guys, but any keyworded Skitarii. If you are within your deployment zone or next to an objective, you get defensive bonuses.
Seems like you give up a lot.
Yeah, it's just funsies.
Because this was before I realized that I was kind of looking at it, and I didn't realize that like all of their vehicles have Skitarii, all of like basically everything except your characters, Cataphren, Castellans, and priests, the Corpuscari Fulgreg priests. So you get like 4 unit choices basically.
What about some of the really popular units like the Flyer and the Cavalry unit?
Oh, the Cerberus Raiders? Yeah, they have Skitarii.
Now, have they changed at all? Like,
Minor changes here and there. If I remember right, like the Raiders, they lost one toughness but gained a wound, and they still retain their like ignore lookout sir, do mortal wounds on 6s kind of thing.
And wasn't the flyer really popular too?
Oh, the flyers are sick.
Well, there's three variants of them.
The one that does mortal wounds when it crisscrosses you, and then it can do double. And then it's like, there's like some super negative. I know they're all -1 to hit, but there was some other way to make it harder to hit or something.
You're talking about the guy with the bomb rack?
Yeah, the bomb rack, dude. Brutal.
Yeah, once per turn, after this model is moved in your movement phase, you can select one unit it moved across. Roll 66s for each vehicle or monster model that unit, and roll 1d6 for each other model in that unit to a maximum of 10 d6s. So I'm not an expert on Mechanicum, how it used to be with these guys, but I think the change is they limit it to vehicle or monster. I think before it was like every unit, and now it's only vehicle and monster now.
For the mortal wound bomb?
Yeah, the bomb rack. So it's like if you move over one tank, you roll 1 dice.
The out of turn
or monster unit.
Yeah, there's just the out of sequence like mortal wound distribution from that was kind of ridiculous.
Sounds busted.
Yeah, they've limited. So like we've seen in most of the 9th edition codexes, gone are the crazy like stratagem wombo combo type stuff. And some of the data sheets have been brought down a little bit, but overall the codex has been elevated. And so like, I guess like the thing that I get a lot when I was kind of perusing this book is Games Workshop was saying like, okay, you guys have bought enough Cataphren, so we're just going to make spamming like Skitarii and other stuff like more viable.
It would never.
Yeah. So like expect to see like billions of Skitarii models flooding the board. Things like the vehicles, Cerberus Raiders, the Ballistari, like the big walker ostrich things with las cannons on them. Like those are really popular. Still very cool. Priests are relatively unchanged. The Corpuscari priests got a little bit better in that they have a natural -1 AP instead of 0. And then that stratagem that gives them AP, it's just +1 AP. So you can still have the strength 5 -2 on their shooty gauntlets.
Yeah, I wish I was more knowledgeable about Admech. It's just never played it. I've played versus it. I knew things Electro Priests were always something I had to worry about. Mm-hmm. Dancing around those guys. The Vanguard, I remember having to dance around that. I remember the Cavalry, the fucking. Remember, like it was popular. They had those Dune Crawlers for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember you just had to like kind of like navigate it, not let them touch you, and just kind of fucking outscore them. But like Admech's been crushing it at tournaments lately.
The little melee guys, the Sakaran dudes, they got a lot better. Like I said, the Cataphren robots are a little bit better now.
How did the points shake out?
Again, not a super expert on this. I do know that the breachers and destroyers are somewhat the same. They're like 35 points and 40 points respectively. And some of the weapons are like free swaps. And then like their really good one is what they're going to cost you. So for the breachers, like the torsion cannon, which is sort of your like Melta las cannon equivalent for them, is 10 points now. And then on the other side, the destroyers, the plasma version is +10 points. But a unit of them is still around like 135, 120 for 3. And then the Castellans are like 100 flat. The points are still very modular. Like a lot of this stuff is still really cheap. A lot of their stuff is either like 8 points, 15 points, 17 points for a lot of their things like the infantry and cavalry guys. All of their vehicles are like 115, 145. I think the most expensive one is 160. So the Codex itself is still very like very modular and how you're going to be able to build a lot of these lists. And there's a lot of play. It's similar to how we were kind of talking about the Drukhari stuff, where you're like spoiled for choice, where you want to take like all this really cool stuff, but you end up not being able to.
Yeah, something that Kara Quinn in chat said that I can confirm that. He's like, if you didn't have good terrain versus Admech, you got fucked. I remember that back in 8th, as they were always creeping around the tournament scene. Like, you get into this bubble of like not being able to hide from them, and it was like, fuck. They were not missing shots. They were not. I mean, and they're doing really good right now, and so.
I think they're going to do even better, to be honest.
So like, you predict that this is even better?
Yeah, this is going to definitely be better than the previous Codex. Like, it's just the type of lists you're going to see are going to change, like less reliance on things like the Cataphren leaf blower type lists, way more like play to the format type stuff with tons of Skitarii and like Cerberus Raiders, Ballistari. The Sakaran dudes are going to be really good. They added a new character, which is the Skitarii Marshal. And basically, he can give reroll hit rolls of 1 to any Skitarii keyworded unit within 6 if they have a data tether. So even if they're not core, if they have a data tether war gear naturally, or like for a 5 or 10 point upgrade, he can give them rerolls of 1.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get some games in with it so we can further break down the discovery process. Admech is kind of like Gene Stealer Cult for me. It's one of those like, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah, they're very complicated. I didn't even want to touch like the
multi-layered,
or the Doctrina Imperative type stuff, because it's so like order of operations and very like bookkeepy type of stuff. But like when you figure out how to play these guys, like they're going to be like, you know, big brain strats that it's going to be hard to figure out. But I mean, I like Lucius. Like, they're a pretty cool one, especially if you like units like the Electro Priests. You know, being able to deep strike the Electro Priests is something that you could do before and still do it, but now you can do more of it, especially with that Warlord trait that lets you bring the character with them, which is great. So you can like have a Tech Priest that lets them get rerolls, you know, hopscotch them somewhere else, and then they just blast with their gauntlets, that sort of deal. The more defensively buffed guys like Styges 8 and some of the like Build-A-Bear Forge Worlds that are brought into this codex from Engine War are great for like defensive buffs on things like Cataphren and Castellans and your Ballistari, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm just traumatized from the old War Convocation days.
Yeah.
I love the models. I think it's a sick looking faction. I'm excited to see how the tournaments adjust to this codex and how the big brain people out there who are already playing Admech make the adjustments. Let's see if we get another, it's OP and broken and we need to fix it.
It'll be interesting because they're not going to be able to use it at Atlantic City. So I think as far as like majors go, at least the ones that I know about, we're going to have Atlantic City in June, like the start of June. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is Lone Star Open in July, and I'm going to Lone Star Open. And so like with the way that the dates check out, like Lone Star might be the first like really big major that's going to have the new Mechanicum Codex and the 2021 chapter approved missions in play. So that's going to be a real interesting
Holy shit, yeah,
tournament.
that'd be sick.
You know, depending when Works or what's next, Sisters, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like Sisters might be in play there. Maybe Orcs, depends on when they come out in June. So it's going to be free for all.
Yeah. No, Cletus makes a good point in chat before we conclude this. He says, I will say this. All the codexes really do open up ways to play with what you want. It's true. There's a lot of that going around with the 9th edition codexes, where you no longer just pigeonholed into like utter point efficiency. Like shit works because of the way we play the game now. So you can absolutely sacrifice some efficiency for some coolness. And that's one of the things I like about Drukhari. I think Drukhari is an awesome codex. And I think that the market's act a little reactionary toward the their success right now. Just like Mortarion was OP, needs a nerf. How could we possibly fucking deal with this? What GW clearly doesn't understand their own rules. And now, like, none of the top guys ever run a Mortarion in the top 8. It's like, come on, man. Just, it'll work itself out. And if it doesn't, we're going to FAQ.
Eventually.
At a pretty rapid rate since 8th edition. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be, spoiler alert to all the people who are really traumatized by Drakari kicking butt right now. That's not going to be the chapter proof.
Yeah.
No, I think, we're definitely going to see some changes very soon.
Well, so I would say that we did see a number of like PDF style hotfix to point stuff at the start of this year for, what was it, like January, February, March, where they did some of that stuff. So it's entirely possible that like maybe they have been monitoring what's going on a little bit. And that like when the chapter approved comes out, there might be like a PDF hotfix for Drukhari that they've been cooking up, but that could be wishful thinking.
It's not going to be in that physical piece of literature though.
Oh, hell no.
Hell no. But we've got more podcasts to do before that book drops, right? Before the actual chapter proof drops.
Yeah, it goes on
next
pre-order
week,
this Saturday. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll have all the stuff this weekend.
So we can do our predictions next.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a sick one. All right, well, fuck it. This was an action-packed episode of the podcast with a lot of fucking different journeys we got to go on tonight.
It was a good time.
I think we can shut it down, Rob.
Haspil, take us out.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan? I just do things.